Okay, I'll call the order of Sparks City Council meeting of March 12th, 2018 with a roll call, please.
Mayor Martini, absent. Council members Abbott.
Here.
Lawson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Bybee.
Here.
Dare.
There. Here.
Acting City Attorney Iding.
Here.
City Manager Driscoll.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, two of our members are in Washington DC, so they're calling in for the meeting. So they may be difficult to hear, but we'll vote for them if we have to. Okay, if you'll stand for invocation speaker, it's Rajan Zed of the Universal Society of Hinduism. Thank you.
Starting with Gayatri Mantra, considered the most sacred mantra of Hinduism, I shall be reading from ancient Hindu scriptures, Rig Veda, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita, some as old as 1500 BCE. After reading in Sanskrit, I shall interpret in English. Om Bhurbhuvah Svah Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. We meditate on the transcendental glory of the Deity Supreme, who is inside the heart of the earth, inside the life of the sky, and inside the soul of the heaven. May He stimulate and illuminate our minds. Astoma Sadgamya Tamsoma Jyotirgamya Mrityor Mamratam Gamya. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Tasmada Sakta Statam Karyam Karma Samachara Asakto Hya Charan Karma Parmapnoti Purusha Karma Neva Hi Samsiddhi Mastita Jankadya Loka Sangreha Mevapi Sampashankar Tumrahasi. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world. By devotion to selfless, one attains the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. Om Saha Navavatu, Saha Nobanaktu, Saha Viryan Karva Bahai. Tejasvi Navadita Mastuma Vidvisa Bahai. May we be protected together. May we be nourished together. May we work together with great vigor. May our study be enlightening. May no obstacle arise between us. Samniva Akuti, Samna Hirdhyaniva, Samnamastu Vomano Yathava Susahasti. United your resolve, united your hearts, may your spirits be at one, that you may long together dwell in unity and concord. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajan. If you remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Abbott, would you lead us?
Yeah, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I did. You always tell me.
Okay, I'll open the public comment period. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak, would you fill out a card for us, please? You have 3 minutes to speak. Our first card is Jeff Church. Welcome, Jeff. Come on down.
Right here? Haven't been.
Just right there and grab one of the microphones.
I have not been here before. I apologize. And I think
okay.
I think our mic is live. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeff Church. I run a website, renotaxrevolt.com, and I have a business card that I've given out to you. I invite you to look at the site. Basically, I consider myself the Reno area, including Sparks, a tax watchdog, looking after your interests. Also today, I filed for Washoe County School Board at large. As of this date, there are 2 candidates, myself and one other. So I wanted to introduce myself. The at-large District F does cover Sparks, so I'm happy to answer any questions later. You've got my card. Anybody in the audience wants it, grab me on the way out. But it's a pleasure to be here, and I hope to be here more. A quick little segue. I parked my electric car, my Chevy Volt, in your charging station. Thank you very much for having those. Wonderful. Now, Reno, I don't want to compare Reno to Sparks, but they did pass an ordinance making it illegal to park in those spots, because especially at the casinos, some of those people from California with those big SUVs like to cheat, and there's no enforcement available right now that I know of in the city of Sparks or in Washoe County. Something to think about. I also have a handout for you on the homeless. I served on the Reno Police Department for 23 years. Prior to that, I was a deputy sheriff in San Diego. As part of my Reno PD duties, I ran the HELP program, the homeless program, and became very involved. I served as board president on a 501c3 homeless center. So I have a background in that, and I have a handout with some of the ideas that I've learned. I've studied it extensively in Southern California. So it's an area I care very deeply about, the homeless, and there's some areas that it's a win-win for both of us if we're proactive. And I know we have a new board, the CHAB. So those of you that are on it. Getting back to the school board, first of all, I don't know how much time I have, you'll let me know, but I really want to commend Mr. Lawson. He stood up on the oversight committee against the runaway spending. I appreciate that. It's out of control. The Damani Ranch High School cost $35 million to build. WC1, they told us in writing, $110 million for the next high school. Then they said, oh, we were a little bit low, it's $135 million. Now we're talking, I've heard stories of $200 million to $300 million. It's outrageous, and it should not be allowed to stand. It's a waste of our taxpayer money. We need to be far more prudent in how we spend that money. And I do remind you, Washoe County is the largest employer, Washoe County School District is the largest employer in Washoe County. And they also have 64,000 students that they look out for. So student safety is number one. That's my law enforcement background. And I'm going to be Johnny on the spot, making sure that we look after our student safety, as well as how we spend our money. The school district has a $700 million budget, more than Reno. People don't really think about that. It's not on the radar screen. It's a very important position. I look forward to serving on that board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Church. Next up, Scott Carey. Come on down, Scott. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, members of the City Council. For the record, my name's Scott Carey. I'm here today as the planner for the Reno Sparks Indian Colony. We're here to speak in support of General Business Item 9.4. That's the Regional Bike Share Interlocal Agreement. The colony believes that the proposed agreement provides the necessary framework in order to implement a successful bike sharing program for the region. We feel that the proposed agreement can also help improve multimodal transportation for the members of the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and improve air quality for the entire region. I'm here today to also inform this body that our tribal council will be reviewing an addendum to the proposed agreement at their meeting on Wednesday. The colony was asked to participate in this program after the terms of the agreement you're reviewing this afternoon. And as opposed to delay the implementation or approval of the agreement, our tribal council will be reviewing an addendum to that agreement. The addendum is pretty simple. It doesn't change the scope of anything that you're reviewing, but what it does do, it does allow the colony to participate and enjoy the benefits of that proposed agreement. I'd also like to take this time to thank your staff and all the entities for working with the colony on this project. We look forward to working with you all, and thanks for the opportunity to provide these comments on the record. Be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we bring it back to the council for the agenda, approval of the agenda. Anybody want to move anything around? Mr. Driscoll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. With the folks that are on the phone, one of the primary things that they wanted to participate in was item 9.8 and 9.9. I'd like to suggest that we move those right after the consent agenda items.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, looking for a motion. Mr. Lawson?
Move to approve the agenda with the changes stated by the city manager.
We have a motion. Mr. Abbott?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. On the phone?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Move on to number 6. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the minutes of the regular Sparks City Council meeting of February 26th. Mr. Lawson?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion and Mr. Abbott.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Yes. Yes.
It passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, recognitions and presentations. We do have a proclamation for Nevada Moves. Is there somebody here to accept this? Come on down, sir. How are you? Go ahead and have a seat there. Give us your name for the record.
Roger Markison. I'm the Safe Routes to School Coordinator for the Washoe County School District.
Okay. Then I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas walking and bicycling to school reduces the number of vehicle trips near schools and potential conflicts between vehicles and pedestrians or bicyclists, and whereas reducing the number of vehicles driving students to school results in increased safety, reduced traffic congestion, improved air quality, and less fuel consumption near schools. And whereas the benefits related to physical activity at an early age play a leading role in reducing rates of heart disease, diabetes, and other obesity-related health problems among children. And whereas children getting active by walking and bicycling to school together with parents and caregivers opens opportunities to mentor children about pedestrian and bicycle safety and its benefits related to health and the environment. And whereas walking and bicycling to school offers an opportunity to build physical activity into both parents and children's daily routines, and whereas children, parents, and community leaders around Nevada are joining together to get active and promote walking and bicycling to school. Now, therefore, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim March 9th through the 23rd, 2018 as Nevada Moves Week in Nevada, and encourage citizens across the City of Sparks to walk, bike, or participate in an athletic event with their children while celebrating the benefits of increased safety and health this week and throughout the year. Thank you. I'm going to present this to you, and I'd like to say a few words. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, thanks for this. I appreciate it. On March 21st is Nevada Moves Week throughout the state of Nevada. 19th through the 23rd, we recognize it as Nevada Moves Week. Up to 20% of your morning commute can be impeded by people just going to and from school. A lot of those commuters are just parents who are dropping off their kids who can very well walk to school or take the bus. I appreciate this week that you could help me encourage, get these kids out there. Up to in excess of 30% of the students from ages 10 to 17 in the state of Nevada are in the obesity range. Even though that's not the main focus of Safe Routes to School, it's one of the benefits that we can help get kids out there and start moving. On March 21st, we're starting at, Wood Trail Park, just south of Diedrichson. We're all gonna meet there at 8 a.m., smile with the kids, give them some t-shirts, and get them all to walk and ride to school. We have another opportunity in the City of Sparks on March 23rd to meet at Van Meter Park and then walk to Catherine Dunn, also at 8 a.m. I'd appreciate it if maybe one or two of you guys could show up and wave to the kids and be a good example for them. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir, for coming down. Appreciate it. Okay, consent items. Anybody want to pull a consent item? Looking for a motion? Mr. Lawson.
Right, I'm passed on the draw there.
It's like Jeopardy.
Move to approve consent items 8.1 and 8.2.
Mr. Abbott.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Yes. Yes.
You got 2 ayes.
I just gotta bring it up. I think it's unanimous, but, yes, it is. Passes unanimously. Okay, moving on, we're gonna move up to 9.8 and 9.9. Mr. Driscoll, 9.8.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Steve Driscoll for the record, your city manager. Item 9.8 is an evolution of a board that's been under the under an interlocal agreement since 2011. Originally, the Transitional Governing Board was put together to oversee a new contract for a homeless shelter on Record Street. Since that time, this board, the Transitional Governing Board, really the only thing that they were doing was overseeing that contract and the renewal thereof. Because of the homeless issues and the housing issues and the social services issues, the members of that board got together and thought that it might be a better idea to transition to a homeless advisory board where it would deal with all things kind of related to what's being done at the shelter on Record Street and to expand it. And as a result, they worked with kind of some the bylaws that they had to kind of look at what it would do to tweak it and understand what different services are available that go through or are part of the Community Assistance Center. And with that, the current board of the Transitional Governing Board thought it would be a good idea to evolve to a Community Homelessness Advisory Board, which would be a subset of the large elected official boards. They would get down and get into some of the details on homelessness, which would include workforce housing, would include social services, and other things as it's related to try to break the homeless chain, if you will. And so what this item is suggesting and asking is whether or not this body would like to evolve from the Transitional Governing Board to the Community Housing Homelessness Advisory Board. And as part of that would change the membership that would be involved in that board to where there would be 2 members from each of the elected bodies, Reno, Washoe County, and Sparks, and also appoint an alternate that if one of their primary members was not available, that the alternate could sit with full voting rights on that board to try to push forward things that would be dealing with the homeless advisory. It also, in the resolution, if you were to pass it, it does suggest that there would be reports to the Continuum of Care Committee that Washoe County oversees through their social services, and that also there would be reports back to this body by either your members or by the management team and work itself through. And so with that, I'm prepared to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Any questions, comments?
Can you hear me okay? Can I have a comment?
Yeah, let me get Mr. Lawson, then I'll get you next. Okay, Mr. Dare, go ahead.
I just want to say that I have had the honor of serving on the Transitional Governing Board, and I was one of the ones that saw this as a need. And my hope in this is for us to really make sure the resources we have, not just us, but as a region, that we're working together. And this is not necessarily saying we are trying to go after more resources necessarily. And so I think our goal is to make sure that we are connecting with all the entities and then really creating a mainstream an area where the churches and different people of business and can get involved, and we are coming up with a similar answer to actually help curb homelessness and not just leave it as is. And so I think it's a neat day. It's exciting in a sense that I think we could have some answers. But with that, we will be involved and we will bring everything back. This is just an expanded conversation that will help make sure that we're working on the same team. And I just wanted to make sure that was clear to our whole council.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. Mr. Lawson.
So Steve, this board has no financial ability to bind anyone. Any decisions that are made for the city of Sparks are made at this council. That board cannot make any decisions for us.
Yes, Mr. Lawson, Steve Driscoll, for the record, it is designed to be an advisory board. So if they found something that would require additional resources, whether it be people or money, it would have to come back to the 3 elected boards in their total that control the budgets for those entities and would have to go through the budget process.
We're not anticipating a budget for this board similar to the Regional Planning Governing Board where we give money to make that work. We're not anticipating us having to give any money to this board.
No, sir. What this board has done in the past as a transitional governing board, they were the ones that approved the Volunteers of America contract, which oversees the Community Assistance Center. There is a funding equation that's related to that particular contract. And so that while this board may oversee that in the future, the final approval as today comes back to the council, the Sparks Council as a whole, and is part of your discussion during the budget process.
So there won't be any staff directly working for this. What are we calling it? The CHAB or?
The CHAB is the preferred method. What the bylaws contemplate, if they were to be approved by the new board, is that the three managers provide support to the elected officials. And then depending on what's needed, depends on where it might go. So if it was social service related, for instance, it would go back to Washoe County first and work itself through. So if staff is going to be assigned to work on a project, it'll be done by the managers underneath the authority of the elected officials on this board. They would be like they are, like you are here, that you are setting policy, and then the managers would translate the policy to operations.
Perfect. I think this is well needed. Obviously, what we do with homeless and Reno does with homeless affects each other in Washoe County. It's one big circle. So I applaud this board coming forth.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the phone?
Yes, I have a comment
Ms. Bybee?
or question. Couple of things. I do support especially expanding this and having two members from each of our jurisdictions. I think just as it has been with just three members, one from each, I think it's much needed because we do have bigger issues, and I think we need more voices there representing our city and Reno and Washoe County. What I do have a question on with 6 members, will decisions on recommendations be made by a simple majority or 2/3 or with an even number? Is there something in the mechanism, if 3 and 3, if you're split on something, it would have to pass with a 4-2? I guess that's a question.
Mr. Driscoll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and to Councilwoman Bybee, Steve Driscoll for the record. The bylaws contemplate a simple majority. Because it is an even-numbered board, if something was to be 3-3, you'd have to take another run at it, because it would need to pass by 4 votes at any one time, unless the quorum had been decreased for some legal reason. So we recognize that be the case. And at this point, since the bylaws will be driven by the board itself, if they ran into an issue, they would be able to tweak that at some point down the road. Right now, it contemplates a simple majority on any action that this board takes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, along those lines, Steve. So if the quorum is 5 on that particular day, then it's 3 votes, or you still have to have 4?
The only way the quorum would change is if for some reason someone had to abstain, and under NRS, that abstention allowed the quorum to change. Because there are quite a few times where, because a member abstains, the quorum stays the same. So it is contemplated that with a 6-member board, that a quorum would constitute 4 for holding a meeting and for voting.
4 votes
4
regardless.
4 votes
In the
drive the
affirmative.
direction
Yes.
of the action. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Dare?
If we're ready, I'm happy to make a motion to
I've got some public comment, and then
Oh,
we'll get
sorry.
back to that. I'll open up the public comment. Mr. Church, where'd you go? Come on down, Jeff.
Once again, for the record, Jeff Church. I already told you my background working with the homeless, but I do have a handout for you. I only had one copy, but I'd like you to look at it. It's kind of hard to read, so whoever is selected for the CHAB or the CHAB, I invite them to get a hold of me. I have research. I have the Los Angeles recommendation, their big study, which basically is throwing money at the problem. I want to make it clear that I do not support enabling the homeless with free housing. If we're going to give free housing, let's give it to the people that work at Jack in the Box and McDonald's, not to the people that don't work and are going to use it as a base. What I do anticipate advocating for is taking the homeless to housing, not the other way around. And there are some very rural settings that may be appropriate. The Trump administration allocated $2 billion with a B for homeless services, homeless grants, something we definitely need to look at. And one other thing I've learned in my many years at the police department and also being in the military, having lived in a barracks very briefly, is people don't like barracks. So we have to think outside the box. And that includes many of those homeless that will not live in a standard homeless center such as you have at Record Street. What they will live in, and I hate to call it a stall or a paddock, but is a camping area that's covered, open air, healthy, and that they can live there with their pets, they can live there with their significant others, they can just live there by themselves, but they don't want to go into a barracks that has a bunch of snoring people that make a lot of noise. They want to have their independence. If we don't give them those camping areas, they're going to go to the river, which is where they're at now. And unfortunately, as in the handout, there's a lot of court decisions right now that basically allow the homeless to sleep anywhere. And unfortunately, we're in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. If I go to San Diego all the time, I've studied it down there. They're on corners. It's terrible. They're everywhere. They have ocean view property, which I don't get to get. I told my daughter, I said, why pay for a hotel? You can camp wherever you want. So we need to address the problem. It's a serious problem. And whoever is selected, I invite them to get a hold of me, and I'll be happy to share my research. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to talk? We'll bring it back to the item. Mr. Dare?
I have a quick question.
Oh, wait, one second, Chris. Mr. Abbott?
Yeah, Mr. Driscoll, what is our time frame to get it up and running if it does go through?
Steve Driscoll for the record. So we are the last entity to approve a resolution to create the board. And so if you were to approve it, we then would have a step to assign members. And then really it's a matter of, there's a couple of things that are being worked on as before. So a public meeting, a posted public meeting could happen within a couple of weeks, as early as a couple of weeks, to start the evolution. You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Dare, you're up.
Okay, I move to approve resolution number 3330 to establish the Community Homelessness Advisory Board, known as CHAP.
Okay, Mr. Lawson.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to number 9.9. Presentation, discussion, and possible approval to appoint 2 voting and 1 alternate voting member of the Sparks City Council and/or mayor to the Community Homelessness Advisory Board for a term to be determined at the discretion of the Sparks City Council from the following pool of applicants listed in alphabetical order: Don Levitt, Charlene Bybee, Christopher Dare, Ed Lawson, Gina Martini, and Ron Smith. Mr. Lawson,
Did you have something, Steve?
I didn't know if you had a question or not. You want to wait?
I would wait
Okay.
for Steve, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, Steve Driscoll, city manager for the record. Based on your action approving item 9.8, the Sparks Council now needs to appoint members to the Community Homeless Advisory Board. Based on the suggestion from what's happened to this point and through the resolution, it would have 2 members appointed from your body, which could include council members and the mayor, and then also 1 alternate who would have full voting rights if one of the regular members wasn't there. So the suggestion, and because it's an open in the motion, with some conversations, one of the things that we recognize, this board takes a good look at their boards and commissions every 2 years after the election. And so my suggestion would be that you appoint your members and your alternate, and that they would hold term until we meet again in November of this year, and then we could set a 2-year term after that point. So that would be an operating suggestion for you, since you do an extensive review of boards and commissions after each election. So at this point, what is contemplated, you would appoint 2 members and an alternate and designate the term. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Lawson.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I move to appoint Christopher Dare and Ed Lawson as voting members of the Community Homeless Advisory Board, and Charlene Bybee as a voting alternate for the Community Homeless Advisory Board for the term to expire in November, when we review our boards and commissions, and then it'd be 2-year terms after that.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I have a second?
Oh, sorry.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Bybee seconded it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Yes. Yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Good job.
Yep.
Good job.
Good job. Yes.
Okay. We'll move on to general business items, 9.1. You're up again on this,
still
aren't you?
here.
Okay. Consideration, discussion, and possible recommendation for the joint appointment of one elected official to represent the owners of Truckee, I was gonna say Tumwa, the Truckee Tumwharf facility on the Board of Trustees of Western Regional Water Commission from the following pool of applicants in alphabetical order: Donald Abbott, David Bobzien. We're just dealing with the people from Sparks.
Not on this item, sir.
Okay. Jenny Breckus, Charlene Bybee, Christopher Dare, Oscar Delgado, Naomi Dewar, Neoma Jordan, Edward Lawson, Gino Martini, Paul McKenzie, Hillary Sheevy, or Ron Smith for the 2 years ending March 31st, 2020. Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, Steve Driscoll, City Manager for the record. The title pretty well talks about it. With the Western Regional Water Commission, there are various members appointed by different parts of the political organizations. In this case, the representative for the water reclamation facility expires at the end of this month. There's an agreement between Reno and Washoe County, or Reno and Sparks, that every other term goes between the city of Reno, city of Sparks. Currently, Mr. McKenzie, Councilman McKenzie, is a member of the Joint Coordinating Committee, and he is the sitting member on Western Regional Water. So his term would expire at the end of this month. So by agreement between Reno and Washoe County, or Reno and Sparks, Sparks is member on the Joint Coordinating Committee, which is currently Mr. Abbott, would then take this position. This has not been approved by the Reno City Council, but it is one that I had a personal conversation with Mr. McKenzie. He agrees with that recommendation, and that he will be recommending that to his body when they get it on their agenda. We're trying to get it done so that there's no lapse. And so with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, one quick one. So, Donald is our appointment to the Western Regional? And then, so now he would be the appointment from Tumwharf to Western Regional.
Correct.
So we would need to fill the position.
That will be item 9.2, depending
Thank you very much.
if you
I'm
have
getting a little
if you-
confused.
your action on 9.1.
We're moving a lot of chess pieces around here. Okay, perfect.
Okay, any other,
Name
any
placards,
further
please.
questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion?
I'll support you.
Mr. Abbott? Mr. Abbott?
Yeah, sorry. I move to recommend a joint appointment with the city of Reno let me start over. With the city of Reno of Sparks City Council member Donald Abbott as a Tumwharf representative on the Board of Trustees for the Western Regional Water Commission for a 2-year term ending March 31st, 2020.
Okay, we have a motion, looking for a second?
Second.
We have a second. We have a second from Mr. Lawson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Yes.
You guys, push to talk button isn't working on the phone.
Oh,
Yes.
yes, and Ms. Bybee?
Yes.
Okay. It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, Mr. Driscoll, 9.2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Steve Driscoll for the record. Based on the action that you just did on 9.1, you now have a vacancy to the Western Regional Water Commission as an appointee from the city of Sparks. So with this would be the time and place to replace that for the remainder of the term, and then actually could push it until next time. So at this point, we have typically used members that are associated with water in or water out. Right now, Mr. Smith is appointed to the commission as the Tumwa member. And so there was a suggestion from conversations that Mr. Dare might be a prime person as he's the alternate on Tumwa. but it's up to your ultimate selection at this point. I'm prepared to answer any questions.
So this does not affect me, it's just he'll be appointed
This is
to
just
that
the
board.
city of
Yeah.
Sparks appointment, yes.
Yeah, we try to group our boards so we're all talking about the same general
Right.
field of expertise.
Right.
So do you want to be on that, or do we want to put Christopher on that?
I'm gonna stay on there. I am on there already. This will be the appointment
Are
from,
you're on Western Regional Water Commission?
yes, I'm the vice chair.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Okay,
Okay.
so let's put Christopher, you want to do it?
Yes, I'm good to go and go on there for now.
Okay, give me a motion.
Let's make a motion then. I move to appoint Christopher Dare to the Western Regional Water Commission.
And do we have a second? Mr. Abbott?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Yes. Yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're
And
done. We're-
Mayor Pro Tem, we're
Yes.
gonna probably sneak off the phone, or we have somewhere we have to be down here.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure, thanks for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Have a good meeting. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Do you see which board you're appointed to now?
Yeah, wait, you're not here anymore.
Christopher Dare.
Okay, so just so you know, anything that passes got a 3-0. Okay. 9.3, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a 2018 operating plan, AC 5450, between the City of Sparks Bureau of Land Management, BLM, and U.S. Forest Service for possible action. And welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and council. You have before you the operating plan for 2018. Used to be called the annual operating
Mayor Pro
plan.
Tem,
Oh.
can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Jim Reed, Operations Chief with the Fire
I should have done
Department.
that as well, so sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
And so they're changed into the operating plan. So if next year we don't have anything to update, it's just going to roll forward as is. Two changes this year, we updated our salaries. And the next change is we removed a 1 mile, I say radius, coming into the city of Sparks or going outside of the city of Sparks, we didn't charge. We removed that 1 mile so that, you know, if we're going out to La Posada or just past to help out Truckee Meadows where it intermixes BLM to county land,
Right.
that we're not going to bill the BLM for that. We're going to get out there, try and put the fire out and stop it before it gets big. And then that also brings us in line with the rest of the districts, with the county and Reno. We're the only ones that actually had the 1 mile radius left in our contract.
Going back to last year with all the fires up in the hills there, you guys did a great job. Absolutely fantastic. And every time I drove home, I was saying, don't be the golf course. Please don't be the golf course. So,
Right.
okay, any questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion? Mr. Abbott?
I move to approve the 2018 operating plan between the Sparks Fire Department, the Bureau of Land Management, and the U.S. Forest Service.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes 3-0 with those
All right,
present. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an interlocal cooperative agreement with Washoe County, the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education, on behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno, and the city, Nevada, Reno, and the City of Reno for Regional Dockless Bike Share Program. Can't wait.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, I'm Amber Sosa, the Transportation Manager. I'm here before you to present and answer any questions on an interlocal agreement with Washoe County, the University, City of Reno for the Regional Dockless Bike Share Program. If you'll remember, I was before you seeking support in the beginning of January. This agreement is the next step to be able to launch the pilot program. The agreement is basically the framework for how the program is intended to be deployed, and allows Reno to move forward with their RFP to select a vendor. Being a part of this interlocal agreement will allow us to be a voice in the selection of that. From there, we'll move forward with vendor agreements, which will happen individually with each party. And in those agreements will be where we get more specifics to actual terms and conditions of how the pilot project will run. With that, I'm here to answer any other questions.
Okay, this is we're not approving any funding. We're just approving moving forward with this, right?
Exactly, yes. The framework is just basically why we want the project and how we intend to accomplish its goals, but there's no financial obligations in this agreement.
Mr. Lawson?
So at the end of this, Amber, we're not on the hook if we decide that it's too expensive or didn't quite work out for us. We're not on the hook for anything.
Yes, there will be a reassessment. You're right, that we're not on the hook for anything. At that point, there'll be a reassessment of how it worked with our community, if we liked it, if we want to move forward, or we choose that it's not right for us. Yes.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott?
I move to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement with Washoe County, the Board of Regents of the Nevada System of Higher Education on behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno, and City of Reno for a regional dockless bike share pilot program.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Amber.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible action on a tentative map request for a 344-lot, single-family subdivision within the Kylie Ranch North Phase 7 Plan Development Village 9 on a site approximately 64.9 acres in size. Welcome.
Sorry. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, I am Ian Crittenden, Senior Planner, presenting this case for you today. This is a tentative map request for a 344 single-family subdivision in Kylie Ranch North. This is Phase 7, but it's also known as Village 9, so try not to get those confused. The property is located east of Kylie Parkway, south of Lazy 5, and along Windmill Hills Farms will be along the south side of this as well. The property is approximately 65 acres, and the applicant is requesting one tentative map for the entire Village 9. And they're proposing to do 3 sub-villages with 3 different average lot sizes ranging from 4,000 square feet to 7,500 square feet. The primary access for this will be from Kylie Parkway. And as we can see here, this is Kylie Parkway. Sorry, this is rotated, which can make it a little bit odd, but this is Kylie coming north here, and then this is Lazy 5 along the north side. The primary access will be from Kylie Parkway, Windmill Farm Parkway, and Lazy 5 Parkway, which complies with the road network approved in Kylie Ranch North Plan Development Phase 7 Handbook that was approved earlier this year. Reviewing the tentative map findings, finding 1 requires that it conforms with the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance. Relevant goals and policies are Goal MG6, Policy C4, CF1, and CC8. The Kylie Ranch North Master Plan has been adopted into as part of the Sparks Comprehensive Plan land use. The proposed densities of this tentative map do conform with or are consistent with the Kylie Ranch Master Plan and the Sparks Land Use Map. Supporting Policy C4, the proposed street cross-section and the tentative map plans show sidewalks in all of the streets. Supporting CF1, the infrastructure utilities are currently located to the southwest of the parcel or the property, and the proposed tentative map is for single-family lots, which this village has been planned for, and is proposed to be a variety of lot sizes, which is all in conformance or supporting Policy CC8. Finding T2, this conforms to the city's master plan for streets. The tentative map incorporates its street design as shown in the Kylie Ranch North Plan Development Phase 7 Handbook, and the project requires extensions of both. In fact, I think this is easier to see on this map. It will require the extension of both Lazy 5 Parkway to the extent, the eastern extent of the property, as well as Kylie Parkway. I think I may have said that here, but Lazy 5 will have to be extended, as will Kylie Parkway, for this, this development. Finding T3 relating to environmental and health laws and regulations. The applicant, this application was distributed to the reviewing agencies, and their comments are attached to the staff report. The developer will have to comply with those agencies' regulations as well. Finding T4, the availability of water. The developer has estimated the water requirements for this development at 112 acre-feet per year for domestic water. The water rights needed to serve this project will be dedicated, or are required to be dedicated with the final map. Finding T5, the availability and access to utilities. The developer has estimated the sewer flows for this development to be 335,400 gallons per day, and the applicant will be required to provide evidence that there is adequate sewer capacity to serve the project prior to the recordation of the final map. Finding T6 has availability and accessibility to other public services that includes schools. This tentative map is estimated to add approximately 124 students. The police protection will be provided by Sparks Police Department. Transportation is addressed with the extension of those roads. RTC did respond to our request for comments. Their letters attached to the staff report. And as I said, those two extensions will be required. Emergency fire response for this project will be provided by the City of Sparks Fire Department. The subdivision is located outside of the 6-minute response time. However, the city has an agreement with the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District for automatic aid. The fire department is requiring 2 means of access to Village 9 before construction starts. And as discussed under transportation, this will be accomplished through the extension of both Kylie and Lazy 5 parkways. Utilities, this NV Energy will provide electricity and Paiute Gas will provide gas. The utilities will be extended underground in the right-of-way to serve Village 9. Finding T7, effects on existing public streets and needs for new streets. The project is estimated to generate 3,375 average daily trips with PM peak trips of 344. Those traffic impacts have been considered in the review and approval of the final handbook, and this tentative map does not exceed the existing understanding of what those average daily trips will be. Physical characteristics of the land. The primary one to look at here is that this area is near some floodplain. The majority of this village 7 is outside of the FEMA Zone X, but there is approximately 8 acres that is in FEMA's Zone A. The applicant is proposing to file a letter of map revision with FEMA to bring those lots out of Zone A by essentially filling that area. The preliminary hydrology report shows that the elevation of those lots will not adversely impact the floodplain nor affect properties downstream. The slope, there are no slopes issues here. I mean, this is less than 5% slope across the site, so that's not an issue. Soils, there will be final geotechnical reports will be required before issuing building permits for this. Finding T9, we did send, as mentioned, application out to reviewing agencies. We received comment letters from Washoe County School District, Regional Transportation Commission, Regional Truckee Meadows, Water Authority, Nevada Division of Water Resources, and the Washoe County Health District. All of those letters are attached to the staff report. Finding T10, fire protection. The Sparks Fire Department will provide fire protection, as was discussed in finding T6. Finding T11, addressing additional impacts, specifically those addressed in this landscaping. The Plan Development Handbook does have specific guidelines for landscaping, fencing, and lighting. Detailed plans for those will be required to be submitted with the final map for review and approval. Also, similarly, architecture, the Plan Development Handbook has specific architecture requirements. Those architectural details will have to be submitted with the final map as part of that, that application. Finally, finding T12 requires public notice. Planning Commission and City Council act as public hearings, and public notice is accomplished through the publishing of the agenda for tentative maps. At the Planning Commission, from February 1st, 2018, Planning Commission did recommend approval of this item. That's the extent of my presentation. I would be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Ian, I didn't see the RTC report. Did they say they would supply bus service out there?
I don't believe they said they would provide bus service, but I'm not 100% sure of that. They do have their letter in here, but I'm not sure if that's done. Does anybody have a chance to look at that?
No?
I don't
Okay.
believe so.
That would make a big change in a lot of
Yeah,
things they do, the ADA and everything else, so. Okay, I'll find out. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion? Mr. Abbott.
I move to approve the tentative map with 20 conditions for a 344 lot, single-family subdivision within the Kylie Ranch North Phase 7 planned development, Village 9, on a site approximately 64.9 acres in size in the NUD New Urban District zoning district located east of Kylie Parkway and south of the future extension of Lazy 5 Parkway, Sparks, Nevada, based on findings T1 through T12 as set forth in the staff report.
I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Ian. 9.6, presentation, discussion, and possible approval of complement changes to add 3 additional positions in the police department, 2 police service managers, and 1 IT support specialist with an estimated fiscal impact of $24,000 for fiscal year 2018 and $95,300 for fiscal year 2019. Jill and the chief. Could be a movie.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Brian Allen, your chief of police for the record, and
Jill Valdez, Human Resource Analyst.
so we're going to talk a little bit about this item, and then Jill will present the next item if this item passes through the council this afternoon. Where we stand today is I've been working with the manager in regards to our organizational structure of the Sparks Police. We knew this day would be coming where Teresa Wiley, our administration division manager, after 21 years of great service to the city of Sparks and over 30 years to the members of the Washoe County community, is retiring. I was able to push her back until April 3rd of next month. Her plans were she would already have been retired. So in that, we are looking at the organizational structure of the Sparks Police, and we really have identified a missing link in our organizational structure on the non-sworn side, mainly in records and our communication, providing that job opportunities, job growth, career ladders, and having prepared people to take over that executive level administrative role. So what we did in working with the city manager and human resources is create a police service manager position. And in that, it would be basically at the rank of lieutenant or a mid-manager within the police department at the on the non-sworn side that will give that job and growth opportunity to work their way into having the job skills and knowledge to eventually take over that administrative manager position, which we intend to hold vacant until we come to a time where both candidates would be qualified for that position and the budget would allow us to fill that administrative division manager position. So we're working with the manager to freeze that position, hire these 2 police service managers, and moving forward with creating that mid-management level position, not taking a working supervisor and trying to throw them into an executive level position. So those are the 2 police service or manager positions. The other position we have before you today is an IT specialist position, 1-2. That is courtesy of the state of Nevada and the body-worn camera bill that has passed last legislative cycle, and we have a lawful requirement to have an operational body-worn camera system in place by July 1st of this summer. In that, our intention was to submit all costs to the funding source identified by the state of Nevada, being the E911 Advisory Committee through the Board of County Commissioners, that it takes that surcharge on your telephone systems and applies it towards the cost of your dispatching and, in this case, body-worn cameras. After a ruling from the Washoe County District Attorney's Office that those could not be used for personnel, only hard costs, we still have a need to fill an IT position at the police department to manage this program. As you can be aware, we're bringing on approximately 120 different little mini computers, network, and everything that comes along with it, and we need to have an IT person that's available to work on that. If you can imagine that if we were to download our body-worn camera without any enhancements to our system, no one else in the city would have internet access during those times because of the amount of data that's going to be pushed through these lines. And we need a dedicated person to manage that system, in addition to when we bring on the fleet services, managing about another 35 police cars and all the technical aspects that related to it. So those are the two positions with 3 personnel complement changes that we are coming before you this afternoon. And I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, looking for a motion. I do have a question.
Yes.
If I can remember what it was, I just had it here a second ago. July 1st for the IT person. When do we get the body cameras?
So the reason why we are here today, outside of what would be the normal budget cycle and new needs and all of that, is we would like to have this IT person on by May 1st so that we can get the hiring process, get them in place so that they can be part of the foundation building systems, integration, and all of that with the introduction of the body-worn cameras.
Okay.
In about your next meeting, I believe, we're on schedule to bring actually the contract for our body-worn camera provider before this council and present those things. And so we're in a process of moving forward. And the reason why we're here today on that IT position is so that we can get them on board before that July 1st deadline. Bringing them on board on July 1st will not be appropriate.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Makes sense. Okay, questions or
I have a
comments?
question for Steve. Steve, are we gonna approach the legislature about funding for these positions? I mean, obviously, they gave us an unfunded mandate here, and by saying that we can't use the dollar, well, it's only 85 cents is what the county approved. We can't use that for personnel, and obviously, cameras without personnel to download it are worthless.
Steve Driscoll for the record, thank you. So different organizations have dealt with this differently. Washoe County Sheriff's Office, for instance, is just going to reassign some people internally. And so that's part of what's causing the discussion on whether it should or the surcharge should or shouldn't include it. So we're going to be having conversations with the LCB to see kind of what their position is. Reno was considering asking for LCB's legal opinion, and we would obviously piggyback off of that if they do that. So if nothing's changed before summertime, if you will, if we don't get a legal, then we'll be taking a look at starting to lobby the legislators to give us, some additional help.
Yeah, because Reno's in the same boat we are. We're understaffed in our police departments now, so this is another burden on us. But it's I think, a good policing tool. Yeah, so we're in this conundrum of give us an unfunded mandate. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Looking for a motion. Mr. Lawson.
Move to approve the personnel complement changes to add 3 additional positions in the police department, 2 police service managers and 1 IT specialist, IT support specialist 1-2, with an estimated fiscal impact of $24,000 for fiscal year 18 and $95,300 for fiscal year 2019.
Mr. Abbott.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, 9.7 is Jill Valdez. Presentation, discussion, and possible approval to amend the Appendix A in the Mid-Management Professional and Technical Resolution to implement the proposed complement change to add the job title and salary range of Police Services Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the council. Procedurally, in order for us to follow through on the previous item, we need to add the title and the salary for Police Service Manager to the Appendix A of the Mid-Management Professional contract. And so basically that is what we're looking to do here, is just to add that. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Mr. Lawson.
Ready to make a motion.
Have at it.
I move to approve the amendment to the Mid-Management Professional and Technical Resolution, Appendix A, to add the job title and salary range of Public Services Manager.
Mr. Abbott.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Okay, 9.10, Madam Clerk.
This is the first reading of Bill number 2735. An ordinance by the City of Sparks to approve an impact fee service area number 1, IFSA number 1, development agreement with Bruce Investment Group LLC, Bruce Investment Group LLC 401K, and Bruce Investment concerning the development of Highland Ranch Park, a 67.4 acre property located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Highland Ranch Parkway and the Pyramid Highway, Sparks, Nevada, and other matters properly related thereto.
Okay, this is the first reading for Bill number 2735. The public hearing and second reading of this bill will be conducted at the regular City Council meeting on Monday, March 26, 2018. Item number 911.
This is the first reading of Bill number 2736, a general ordinance rezoning real property approximately 67.4 acres in size and located at 500 Highland Ranch Parkway from A40 agriculture to C2 general commercial and providing other matters properly relating thereto.
This is the first reading for Bill number 2736. The public hearing and second reading of this bill will be conducted at the regular City Council meeting on Monday, March 26, 2018. Thank you. Okay, there are no public hearing and action items. We'll move on to number 11, planning and zoning, public hearings and action items. 11.1, second reading, public hearing, discussion, and possible adoption of Bill number 2732 to annex into the City of Sparks real property approximately 3.47 acres in size located at 3650 Whittakin Road, Washoe County, Nevada. Armando.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. I am Armando Ornelas, the Assistant Community Services Director. I'm going to pull up actually this one here. So this item and item 11.2 are related items. They both have to do with the same piece of property, which is this parcel here, approximately 3.5 acres on the south side of Whittakin Road between Sullivan on the east and El Rancho on the west. If it's the pleasure of the council, what I would suggest is that I introduce both items. Again, one is this annexation request. The second is a rezoning. And then I can present the annexation case, and then the City Council can conduct the public hearing and take possible action. And then after you've done that, I could present the actual rezoning case and findings, and then you could conduct the public hearing and consider action on that one as well. Okay? So first, a little background. This case goes back a ways, as you may recall. The city originally received the two applications for annexation and rezoning back in August of 2016, so almost more than a year and a half ago. At that time, when those applications were submitted, we were then able to determine that there wasn't at that point in time capacity to provide sewer service due to the capacity was used up. So the applicant agreed to postpone review of the cases until the city could determine if sewer service could be provided. There was a project being contemplated to increase capacity on Tyler Road, and then the property could connect. That decision to include that Tyler Way sewer capacity improvement was included in the CIP for the current fiscal year, which was adopted essentially last May or June. So at that point in time, then the case moved forward. So in June of 2017, the Planning Commission reviewed the applications and recommended denial, though, of the annexation because it would require the city to take control or responsibility for this segment of Whittakin Road between Sullivan and El Rancho, which turned the fiscal analysis for the project, which is required, substantially negative. That was in June of 2017. That came to City Council in September of 2017. Between those two meetings, the applicant reached out to the property owner here at the corner of Garfield and El Rancho, which is a church, and they negotiated or started negotiating for an easement. And let me bring that up. Oh, sorry. They negotiated ultimately this easement. So this is from Garfield Drive. It's a 60-foot wide easement and provides access from a city street, Garfield, to the property. And with that, then that would serve as the primary access for this, and that would relieve the city of Sparks from having to take responsibility upon annexation for that segment of Wedekind, which then allowed for the city to review a new fiscal analysis which turned from substantially negative to modestly positive. So with that, I will just add that the City Council remanded the item back to the Planning Commission, and on February 1st of this year, the Planning Commission reviewed the revised applications, the revised fiscal and the easement agreement, and recommended approval of both items. I'll move on now to the annexation case. This is a request for voluntary annexation into the city of Sparks. Upon annexation, the zoning would convert from a Washoe County zoning designation of E1, which is a state residential 15,000 square feet, to a city of Sparks designation of SF15, which means essentially 15,000 square foot lots. That's the designation that's here, and then that's the designation on some of the parcels to the north in the unincorporated portion of the county. As I noted, the applicant is requesting voluntary annexation into the city in order to redevelop the property. The existing homes, and there are three on these two parcels, are served currently by well and septic system. Annexation would permit these properties to receive municipal services and therefore to increase the intensity and density of the use of the property. In terms of the annexation findings, finding A1 is whether the request conforms to the requirements of NRS 268. The city's 7-year annexation program has expired. However, NRS 268-670 allows the Sparks City Council to consider annexing property without an annexation program if it is contiguous to the city limits and annexation is requested by 100% of the property owners. These properties are contiguous. The city boundary goes down here along on the west side of the property and then along the south side, so it's contiguous on two sides. And the property owner, all of the property owners, there's a single one, is requesting annexation, so annexation can be considered by the City Council. Finding A2 is that the request conforms to the findings established for annexation applications pursuant to Sparks Municipal Code Chapter 20.0505. So there are a number of factors to be considered. They include whether the location of the property, again, it's contiguous to the city limits on two sides, and there are services available in the existing portion of the city. The second is whether this is a logical extension to the city limits. This is contiguous. There are existing utilities, and it is an area that we would characterize as infill. The need for expansion of the city to accommodate planned regional growth. According to the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency and the study they've done, there is an existing housing shortage in the region. Redevelopment of the subject properties will increase the supply of single-family housing in the region, so we believe that criterion can be addressed. The location of existing and planned water and sewer service, I've addressed them. Those are available now. Development of the property will have to wait until those Tyler Way sewer capacity improvements are completed, and we anticipate that to be certainly within a year. Okay. E, community goals that would be met by the proposed annexation. Goal MG6 of the comprehensive plan reads, promote compact development to reduce the per capita cost of providing infrastructure, public facilities, and public services. As noted, it's an infill location within the McCarran Loop, which is, of course, from the original plan perspective, has long been key. The subject properties are adjacent to an older part of Sparks with existing 6,000 square foot single-family lots served by city services. Policy MG7 really is this set of criteria that have to do with annexations. I'm addressing these as we go through. And then policy CF1 calls for the city to, when reviewing new development, to not approve an application unless city services can be provided at acceptable service levels. Once those sanitary sewer improvements are completed, the city can provide sewer service. Currently, the fire service to this portion of the county is provided by the city of Reno. Upon annexation, fire and emergency response would be from City of Sparks Fire Station Number 1, and the properties are estimated to be within a 6-minute response time. The efficient and cost-effective provision of service areas and capital facilities. This has been discussed. Once again, the sanitary sewer capacity upgrades have been made, we can do that. Fiscal analysis. So I've talked about this a little bit. Basically, with access off of Garville Drive through that easement, the new fiscal analysis, which was provided through an update letter, estimates that over a 20-year period, the fiscal impact to the city will be positive to the tune of about $314,000. So modestly positive, even if some of the assumptions were overly optimistic, we don't believe that it would have a significant adverse impact fiscally to the city. H is whether Washoe County has adopted a community management plan for the proposed annexation area. They have not, and Washoe County staff have commented that they do not have any objections to annexation of these properties because they are in the Sparks sphere of influence. Whether the annexation creates any islands, it does not. On the east side of the property here, where the cursor is, it will leave a county peninsula, but it will not leave a county island. And then any other factors deemed appropriate for consideration. The one that we raised in the staff report has to do with sanitary sewer service, and we have addressed that. Finding A3, the property requested to be annexed conforms to the comprehensive plan as it is within the city's sphere of influence and 7-year annexation program. That has also been addressed, and basically the bottom line there again is that the city council can consider this annexation because it is contiguous and 100% of the property owners are requesting it. Finding A4, public notice was given and a public hearing held per the requirements of the Sparks Municipal Code. The Planning Commission and City Council public hearings serve that purpose, and it was noticed to property owners within 750 feet of these properties. And finally, notice was published in the Reno Gazette-Journal on January 19th. So that concludes my presentation, and as I noted, the Planning Commission recommended approval, and a public hearing is required on your part on this item.
Okay, any questions? We'll go with 11.1 first. Chief? I'll do it first. Go ahead.
Am I good? Okay, Chris Maples, Fire Chief for the City of Sparks. A minor correction to Armando's presentation. Fire protection currently is provided by Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District, not the City of Reno.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Okay, this is a public hearing item. I will open up for public. Come on down, and then fill out a card when you're done. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Greg Evangelatos, professional city planner representing the applicant. I think Armando and your staff have done an excellent job summarizing it. We believe that it's appropriate to the area. It meets all the criteria. And Mr. Garrett Gordon and myself are here to answer any questions you might have or now at the conclusion of public testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I want to say thanks for hanging in there. This has been 3 years, hasn't it?
Just a year and a half.
Seems like 3 years.
It goes back a ways, but thanks. Okay, anybody else in public wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. Questions, comments? Looking for motion? Mr. Lawson?
I'll move to adopt bill number 2732 to annex the city of Sparks real property approximately 3.47 acres in size located at 3650 Wedekin Road, Washoe County, Nevada, based on findings A1 through A4 as set forth in the staff report.
Mr. Abbott?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. We'll move on to 11.2. This is a public hearing item also. I'll open it up to the public. Anybody in the public wishing to speak at this time?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may present the findings for the.
Sure, absolutely.
So there are 3 findings related to this request. The proposal is to, Armando Ornelas, Assistant Community Services Director for the record, is to rezone the property from what it's just converted to, which is essentially 15,000 square foot lots, to 6,000 square foot lots. That's the current zoning or prior to annexation. And then the proposed zoning would turn it to the yellow, which is the SF6, And as you can see, that's consistent with what's to the west, to the south, and largely to the east as well. So essentially, what the zoning would allow is development pattern very similar to what's in the city of Sparks to the south and to the east. So there are 3 findings associated with this rezoning request. Finding Z1 reads, the request as submitted is consistent with the City of Sparks comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan goals and policies that are relevant to this request include goal MG4, which is to facilitate infill and redevelopment. We believe this request would do that. Goal MG6, promote compact development to reduce the per capita cost of providing infrastructure, public facilities, and public services. Again, this is the location inside the McCarran Loop adjacent to existing City of Sparks. Policy CF1, when reviewing new development, the city will not approve an application unless the city services can be provided at acceptable service levels. I believe we've addressed that in the presentation for the annexation. Goal H1, facilitate development of housing that is available, affordable, and accessible to a diverse and growing population, including senior citizens. This would add to the supply of housing, single-family housing in the city of Sparks. And policy H2, promote a variety of housing types throughout Sparks, including within mixed-use settings, to expand the choices available to meet the financial and lifestyle needs of a diverse population and workforce. So your staff and the Planning Commission believe that finding Z1 can be made. Finding Z2, the project is consistent with the surrounding existing land uses. Again, I think this map on the screen currently tells a story. It is consistent with the single family, certainly in the city of Sparks. And even though it's the lot sizes are smaller, it's also consistent with the single family housing, if you will, to the north in the unincorporated portion of the county. Finally, finding Z3, as public notice was given and public hearing held for the requirements of the Sparks Municipal Code. I addressed that in terms of the notice that was given for the annexation. So with that, I conclude my presentation and conduct the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Armando. This is a public hearing. Anybody in the public wishing to speak at this time? Greg, you want to talk again? Come on down.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the Sparks City Council, I want to express my appreciation. First of all, I support the recommendation, but I want to appreciate the attentiveness of the elected officials in terms, and the appointed staff in terms of helping us solve the access issue. I think it came out with a situation that's agreeable for all parties, and I appreciate everyone's work.
Thank you, Greg.
To Mr. Gordon for that. That was a great solution.
Anybody else wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. Mr. Lawson.
I move to adopt bill number 2733, rezoning real property approximately 3.47 acres in size, located at 3650 Wedekin Road, Sparks, Nevada, from SF15 residential single family 15,000 square feet to SF6 residential single family 6,000 square feet, based on findings Z1 through Z3 as set forth in the staff report. And I have just a question at the end of my motion. Does the address change now for this property? There be no access off of Wedekin to this property after this? I'm just, not that it makes any difference, I'm just curious.
Councilman Lawson, I believe that not at present, but when the property is developed, if primary access is off there, we would address that as part of the process, the development process and the address.
There will be no more access off.
There will still be access. It will not be primary access. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Abbott?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to number 12. Comments from the public. Anybody in the public wishing to speak at this time? Bill, come on down. Greg, would you fill out one of the cards for me?
He's good.
Is he good? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we got it.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome, Bill.
Mr. Mayor DeBee, Council. I checked on 9.5 and I found out that the streets are going to be public and that they're going to build a school there. I don't know when the school is going to be built, but it's something to consider, think about anyway. And then I went to 9.8, and I'm wondering if it should change the name from Homeless Advisory Board to Homeless Advisory Council. I'm just wondering if that would make any more sense.
Instead of CHAB, it'd be a CHAC?
CHAC, yeah.
I don't like that one so much.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Driscoll?
The reason we used the word board was to denote that it answers to this council in an advisory capacity, where if you give it the word council or something like that, it acts like as if it's its own power structure. We wanted to make sure that when we put it in, that it was subservient to this board, and that's why we used the word board in the title.
Okay, that's all I want. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and by the way, I understand that the property up there on Vista has been sold by Tim McDonald to a developer, and I think it's Star something, I'm not sure. Okay. Well, that's
I'm not
one.
sure which property you're talking about.
This is the teardrop land up on Vista, I'm sorry, on Los Altos,
Okay.
on the top of the hill where the roundabout is. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. Comments from city council, city manager? Seeing none, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.